title card. Boom. Son. Yeah. That wasn't necessary, but I did it anyways. Yesterday, I had a revelation on the source of creativity in humans. I compared it to the love child of an existential crisis.
You're a child's plaything. You are a toy!
And the idea that Bush did 9/11. I was freaking out so much, I had to lay on the floor of my kitchen. So, I wrote a video essay about it, and here we are. But to explain my revelation, let me give you some context. In February of 2009, Elizabeth Gilbert, the author of the massively popular memoir Eat, Pray, Love, gave a TED Talk in Long Beach on what she called your elusive creative genius. I highly recommend you watch it either before or after this video. The first thing that Gilbert addressed in her talk was the infamous image of creative type people. She used the example of creative people earning a reputation for being, what was the word? Oh yeah, alcoholic, manic, depressives.
To be fair, right, chemical engineers as a group, haven't really earned a reputation over the centuries for being alcoholic, manic, depressives, and we writers, we kind of do have that reputation, and not just writers, but creative people across all genres, it seems, have this reputation for being enormously mentally unstable.
This is a common trait for most successful artists, and even the unsuccessful ones, myself included. Not for the depression, but for the. Either way, both are pretty darn depressing, aren't they? For example, I spent months this past school year trying to fix a dysfunctional short film screenplay. I started in August, and by the time June came around, it still wasn't any better. I invested so much of myself into it, and it just was crushing that I couldn't fix it. Every single time I tried to fix it, I just made it worse. I felt like a really inadequate human being, not gonna lie.
You guys all cool with that idea? Are you comfortable with that? Because you look at it even from an inch away, and I'm not at all comfortable with that assumption. I think it's odious.
Most of us never experience success derived from our creative work. And even the successful ones are limited to just one or two great works in their lives, with some obvious individuals excluded. Gilbert goes on to explain that she has been led to believe that her greatest success, Eat, Pray, Love, is behind her.
And it's exceedingly likely that anything I write from this point forward is going to be judged by the world as the work that came after the freakish success of my last book, right? I should just put it bluntly, because we're all sort of friends here now. It's exceedingly likely that my greatest success is behind me. So Jesus, what a thought, that's the kind of thought that could lead a person to start drinking gin at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I don't want to go there. I would prefer to keep doing this work that I love.
However, this fear of inadequacy hasn't always existed. To address this, Gilbert narrates the history of creative thought, all the way from its emergence in ancient Greece.
And that search has led me to ancient Greece and ancient Rome. So stay with me, because it does circle around back. But ancient Greece and ancient Rome, people did not happen to believe that creativity came from human beings back then.
This source of creativity in humans was known as a daemon. Now, a daemon is an attendant spirit that goes with you throughout your life, always watching. Usually it lived within the walls of a creator's studio to give them inspiration whenever they were working on a project. Actually, Socrates credits all of his work to his daemon, and not to himself, refusing to give the weight of all of his accomplishments a place on his own shoulders. And eventually, like most things the Greeks created, the Romans adopted this belief and the idea of a daemon in general, but just changed the name from a daemon to a genius, or a genie sometimes, but either way, same idea, different name, because they haven't done that before, From there, you can infer how we came to this point in the history of creative thought. I am sure we have all heard the term creative genius used to describe many people. But where we have creativity now as an internal force, and not a gift from the gods, it's loathed, and seen as a motivation for our greatest artists to drink heavily and kill themselves at a young age. The creative genius has ceased to become a spiritual guardian that we have and that gifts us with this inspiration, but it has become a creative genius that we have within us to make us creative geniuses. Not only does this school of thought bring light to narcissists, where if someone is seen as having brilliant creations and gets great success and fame and fortune, they take it to heart, and from there the worth of their work doesn't really become in the work, but in the individuals themselves, and when we place that positive worth in the artist, the art itself loses some worth. But this school of thought is also harmful, and really sucks. It generates insecurity, feelings of inadequacy, as I mentioned earlier. Did I mention that earlier? I felt like a really inadequate human being, not gonna lie. Oh right, I did. And it also generates a society-wide fear of failure, and that fear of failure has simply bonded to all the careers in the arts, like Elizabeth Gilbert. I would hate to see this way of thought perpetuate into the future. If we can go back to viewing creativity as an external force, I think we can make the world a heck of a lot better for everybody. However, most of you are probably thinking that this Damon or genius has no scientific footing in the modern world. I mean, we already have enough problems with people taking intuition and opinions as fact, right? Yeah, we do, but just by the way, not pointing any fingers, but we do. But I want to present and discuss the idea of a scientific basis for a daemon as a source of creativity.
Your brain is two brains, two hemispheres, each doing half the work of being you. Half your vision goes to each and half your movement directed by each. Right controls left and left controls right. Your two brains coordinate through a wire of nerves, but this wire can be cut.
The popular YouTuber CGP Grey released a new video. The video was on the results of a study on split brain patients. In the video, he describes the side effects of when surgeons, as an epilepsy treatment, cut the wire between the left and the right brain hemispheres. Now this made it so the two hemispheres could no longer directly communicate. I'm going to do my best to summarize this video's research, but if you want to take 5 minutes, you can find the link to it in the description below. He explains that patients who underwent this procedure perform like most humans, most healthy humans for the most part. However, they also found that whenever they're trying to make a decision, like, say, what shirt to wear, or what to eat, they found that their left arm, controlled by their right brain, would often disagree with their right arm, controlled by their left brain. This sounds creepy, but it gets worse. CGP shows that when either side of the brain was blinded to the other, and each eye was given visual instructions, like say to grab a certain object, their left brain wouldn't know what the right brain did. Also, when either side was given a separate question on their opinions, what is your favorite color? Each brain had a different independent opinion. The experiment showed that the right brain could act completely independently from the left, with different opinions and choices. Most patients identified with the left side of the brain because that's where the speech center is located. So whatever they communicated audibly was based off the actions and the visibility of the left brain. However, the silent right brain continued to attempt to exist on its own. This brought many scientists to come to the hypothesis that, in a healthy human, the right brain grows up as a companion to the more conscious left brain. One of the many reasons that young children have cognitive trouble, and one of the reasons that cognitive skills develop over time, is that the other individual that exists in the right hemisphere learns to simply coexist with the left side. This train of thought is supported by the fact that the conscious left side of the brain is the leading logic center, where our decision-making skills exist. But here is where my revelation can be introduced. Some of you may have already made the connection, and I hope you think it's as cool as I do, but there's a very, very high chance that I'm just crazy, and I'm just overexcited about everything, and I just take things way too seriously. But on the off chance that you guys think this is as cool as I do, let me explain. The left hemisphere is our logic center, correct? And the right hemisphere is our creative center, right? Well, what if both of these videos aren't just crazy cool ideas, something to think about and just change your perspective? But what if these videos are the secret to understanding the true nature of creativity and its source in our brain function? What if the Greeks were right thousands of years ago and we all have a companion Daemon within us? The Daemon giving us creative inspiration would just be our right brain, trying to communicate more clearly with us. Gilbert described how inspirations came to some artists in storms, arriving whenever it felt and for however long it felt. For the most part, these moments of fleeting inspiration come to us in moments of peace when we're relaxed and our mind is at one. And hopefully all of you creative folks will agree with me that whenever you truly feel inspired, it's not rational, it's almost paranormal. The source seems to be somewhere outside of yourself, outside of your own consciousness. They will be linked to in the description, but I highly recommend watching both of these videos in order to fully grasp my crazy, nonsensical Damon hypothesis. But basically, we have another person living in our brains. Something, another intelligence, something we can't define yet because we have no way of truly communicating with them. But while the hemispheres are still wired together and communicating directly, it has no way of expressing itself outside of creativity. I'm sorry if this ramble is a bit confusing. I would have taken more time to flesh out the words, but I had the idea and I had the revelation after watching the CGP Grave video, and I just felt like I had to write it down somewhere. You know? Now I don't know why, but I had a sort of fleeting inspiration. And I just knew that it couldn't be wrong. I knew that it had to be.
And, if we think about it this way, it starts to change everything. This is how I've started to think, and this is certainly how I was thinking about it in the last few months.